This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, safari lovers. It is grey and gloomy and a bit of a windy day out here on Djuma Game Reserve, but the elephants are still out. So grab your binoculars, get your bird lists ready, and jump on board for your very own live and interactive safari through the African bush. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be out here with you guys and have this wonderful herd of elephants. Look at that. Stunning. My name is Trishala and I've got Theo on camera this afternoon. Like I said, a bit gloomy, a bit windy here in Djuma. It's about 19 degrees Celsius, so 66 degrees Fahrenheit. And elephants would love this weather. You can see we have a very interesting herd here. A nice big cow with a bit of a strangely positioned or angled tusk. Nice big bull and lots of little ones. Now, if you have any questions, please use the hashtag WildEarth. Give us your questions, give us your comments. Remember, this is your safari. You can tell us what to do, where to go, and what you'd like to see. They're all very still now. And then they start up again. They communicate in an infrasonic frequency. Oh, good afternoon, Game Drive Radio. That is the radio we use to stay in contact with each other when we're out on Game Drive. So I was speaking about this infrasonic sound that we can't hear. It's below our hearing threshold. And they communicate in this frequency. When they stay very still, they can pick up vibrations from around them. You'll often see them eating, moving, and all of a sudden, very still. Sometimes they put their trunk on the ground. Sometimes they kind of flex their front leg to put they can put their heel on the ground, and that assists them to kind of triangulate the sound that's coming their way. Gorgeous Ellies. I'm going to stay with them, but I'm going to send you over to some other elephants. I wonder if they can hear these ones.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. We are here with an elephant, which you've just been watching with Trishala. It's a little bit different or a different setup at least, because this is a lone elephant bull. So he's essentially a young male who's been kicked out or has left the herd, and it's just basically him and one of his friends that are here. My name is Eric, and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. Like I say, behind camera is Owen, as always, and we are here with these elephants, which has been really nice to sit and watch. This morning we had that beautiful sighting of a leopard with a kill up a tree. And he was feeding, and he was dangerously close to dropping it when there was a hungry hyena lurking around the base of the tree. And so we're on our way there, but we thought that this elephant was too pretty and putting on too much of a show for us not to give it some attention. And just look at how that trunk is moving. He's able to do whatever he wants with it. The buddy, elephants will eat the majority of trees. There are some trees that they'll completely ignore, but so say for this tree, for example, they're feeding on the leaves. Other trees, they might feed on the roots. Some trees, they might feed on the bark. So they don't always feed on the leaves, but there's different food sources that they're looking for in different trees. If anything, maybe a magic guarri would be something, or part of the Euclea family. It's a tree that is so common. It's this one here, just next to the marula, the small one. So that's called a magic guarri. It's got very, very high tannin levels, which means the leaves are incredibly bitter. And so there's not very many nutrients in it. And so that is a tree, just off of the top of my head, that I don't remember an elephant feeding off of before, just to the right of the big marula. Yeah, so that's it that we're looking and that's not a magic guarri, that's I think a natal guarri. There we go, yeah. So, I mean, this elephant being as small as he is with those very short tusks is a young elephant bull. And so he would have, at the age of about 14 or 15, have been kicked out of that herd. So he would have been in a herd in exactly the same way that you saw Trishala, or the elephants you saw with Trishala. And he'll be by himself for the majority of his life, but he will come into a herd every now and again. and so I'm sure he'll be on his way to go and find another herd of elephants quite soon. So as he wanders off into the bushes, we are going to continue making our way down towards where we last left that leopard this morning. So we'll send you across to one of the other guides in Djuma, where Steve is wanting to say good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome everybody to the wavy shore of Tswalu. We've got some hippos and a incubating blacksmith lapwing. You feel the wind, see the wind. Feels like we're at the seashore, everybody. It's a very windy day. It's nice and warm though, 19 degrees Celsius. My name is Steve and I'm joined by BK on camera, and we are very excited to have you with us. Now we're here at Tswalu trying to see what's going on, trying to see what might come down and drink. But on a day like this when it's windy, animals are very reluctant to move around. So we're going to see what we can find. But what we have found is this blacksmith, lapwing, busy incubating. It's been doing this for at least 3-4 days that we know of. And they both, male and female, will incubate the eggs, spending anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half, being relieved by the male or the female who returns from foraging. And especially on a cooler sort of day like this with the wind, adults will spend a bit more time there incubating, anywhere from 1 to 4 eggs. Just a little shallow scrape on the ground, and the eggs are very, very well camouflaged. And these fellows have found a wonderful spot to put the eggs on, a little island, very inaccessible to many animals, although a monitor lizard would easily be able to find it there. Adults can be very, very aggressive to the approach of anything, and they will mob and bomb absolutely anything that comes towards the eggs. Well, it sounds like Dylan in Tswalu Kalahari is hanging out by the water. Let's say good afternoon to him.
Good afternoon, everyone, from what is nothing but a wonderful day at Tswalu Kalahari. This is something, and my name's Dylan, by the way, for those of you who haven't met me yet, and it is great having you all on board. Ask us as many questions as you want. It's really fun to be out here, and it's good fun for us to try get answers to the questions that you ask. But what I really, really wanted to show you, and I was so floored this morning when we saw it. It was the last thing I was expecting this morning, was 3 spotted hyena at this dam, on a kill in the dam. And then the shell ducks were here, they flew off, and then suddenly there were what do you call these things? Ducklings. They came marching over the dam wall with the parents, and that's them right there. There are 9 little ducklings here. This is incredibly exciting, and we've put a huge amount of time and effort into locating the nest, which we did successfully, very, very luckily. There was a lot of luck involved there, but I actually thought they would still be incubating for another 2 weeks or thereabouts. So we are incredibly lucky, and this was just this was Christmas at a completely different time of year. So those of you who are busy working, flying somewhere, and keeping the world turning, or if you're just sitting on your couch somewhere, I'm glad you can join us this afternoon to see these little guys. Very special.
We have a lovely lilac-breasted roller taking advantage of all the insects that these elephants are kicking up as they move through the grass. In fact, it just caught one, which was spectacular. There are about 3 rollers and some drongos all around, trying to take advantage. Let's have a look at this female here. Hello, gorgeous. She's got a Very strange trunk, tusk. I have seen it before. Ooh, I wonder if it will grow and hit the other one at some point. I'm sure it would make contact, but teeth, which essentially these are, grow so slowly. Oh, it almost looks like the way army people stand with one hand in front and one hand behind the back, with a trunk in between. They're slowly starting to move towards Treehouse Dam. I hope that we'll get lucky there. We actually bumped these elephants on the way to the den, which is another place I hope that we will be lucky. It is overcast, which means that it's likely that the cubs will be out during the day. And most importantly, adults may be around, which means that we can stay at the den. That would be great. Can you see what is hidden behind those bushes? Did you ever think that a massive elephant can hide so well? Well, there you have it. Look at her. Magnificent. Now she's behaving this way, giving us the look because of these two little youngsters that are going to follow her now. I love their attitudes. Love it. Mythical, you'd like to know how much do baby elephants weigh when they're born? They can weigh anything from about 80 to 120 kgs. That is a lot. A lot. For just a newborn tiny thing. Now remember guys, like Mythical, you can use the hashtag Wild Earth and ask us any of your questions and your comments, because remember, this is happening live right now in the African bush. Oh, wants to be very strong. Penelope, you say that that baby is a little bit sassy? A little, yes. They get a lot sassier. That's one of the sweetest things to see out here. A sassy little Ellie. This is a very, very interesting tree. Completely uprooted. I'm just doing some landscaping. Yes. Easily bored like most mammal youngsters. Now go and find a playmate to tussle about with. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, they're moving off into the bush and I want to move off towards the hyena den.
Thanks. All the animals are going to be doing today is hiding in the thickets. We're still here, Chitwa, where there has been a changeover of the guard. We've got a wonderful tree here with a nest of buffalo weavers. But I was going to mention the change of the guard because the blacksmith lapwing pair has swapped over. But now it's gone. The one that arrived walked and did a little bit of a dance, snuggled up nice and tightly onto those eggs, and has now gone away. I don't know where it happened in the last few moments. They'll lay those eggs, 3 to 4, and they'll only start incubating them after the last egg is laid. Now that's important to everybody when it comes to birds' eggs. Many birds that lay eggs in trees, in safety of trees like that, will start incubating the day they lay an egg. It takes about 24 hours or so to lay another egg. So you have this delayed egg laying. Getting a bit of an L problem today. And birds that nest on the ground will often wait for all the eggs to be laid before incubating. And what that leads to is we call synchronistic hatching, which means that all the chicks will hatch at the same time, pretty much the same time, which means that they often called downies. They can get up and walk around and follow mum. It's like a chicken, an ostrich, all the ground nesting birds. Very little parental care required. They will follow the parents around and require very little parental care with regards to feeding. Whereas in the tree, in nests, in cavities, in holes where they are secure, they will lay 3-4 eggs and start incubating normally the day that they lay. There we go. Hippos are hiding. Just their nostrils out. And the purpose of that is in years of good feeding, good insects, good food, whatever it might be, those eggs will hatch asynchronistically. So they'll hatch with the first one, and then the second one, and the third, and then even the fourth. Which basically means if there's plenty of food, the parents who are going to be doing lots and lots of hunting trips or foraging trips to feed the chicks will be able to sustain all of them. But if there's not a lot of food, then only the first, maybe the second chick will dominate the feeding, and yet the species will survive. Mary, you want to know how soon after hatching the bird can swim? Now, BK was asking me something similar, because those birds actually don't swim, the lapwing. They walk around on the ground, and they can fly. So the little downies will take some time before they're able to fly, but I reckon they'll be able to hop, skip, and jump over this little island onto the other side. But in saying that, being surrounded by water, they're also going to be surrounded by the water that brings them their food. Food will be just washing up onto that little island constantly. And so I think they'll be okay. I get the feeling that these parents have done something like this before.
Just arrived at this same scene that we had this morning, and this young male leopard is in exactly the same spot we left him, and surprisingly he's still got the carcass with him, so he hasn't dropped it, but it does seem like he's positioned it in a slightly different way. So the horns are almost in exactly the same spot, but that rib cage that was dangling down, he's managed to secure into the bush. And what would a sighting like this be without the hyena? And of course, it's still there waiting for the little scraps to drop off. But I think he's losing the waiting game at the moment, because that carcass looks like it's much more secure than it was when we saw it this morning. And so that one's got its head up and it keeps looking up, and just to see if that leopard might start getting more active. But just to the right of it, there's another one that's just enjoyed. Tammy, the carcass seems like it's definitely been fed on, and it would only have been from him. And so he's managed to feed a lot over the course of the last 8 or so hours. So he keeps looking down at the hyenas. I think he's in a bit of a tricky situation. If he wanted to get down towards where his mother and sister are, they're probably lurking somewhere by here. But he doesn't necessarily want to jump down the tree, because he could land on top of the hyenas. And so he might just wait for a gap for the hyenas to move off, or being a young male with that constant big appetite, I'm sure he's not too concerned about being at the carcass where he gets to feed. And he keeps looking off to the right hand side and down, so maybe that's where the mother and the sister might be. But also, if they want to get up to the carcass, they have to get through the hyena. And although the hyena might not necessarily go after them, they're definitely a threat. So we might try and reposition a little bit, just to see if we get to see the female and the daughter. So let's send you across to Pinder whilst we try and readjust.
You've joined us just in time, everyone. Welcome to and Beyond Pinto Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon, and behind the camera we've got Marcel this afternoon. And like I said, you've joined us just in time. We've just managed to find a pride of lions. We just watched these two lionesses try to hunt some warthogs unsuccessfully, and now they're off on the trot to join up with the rest of the pride. A few moments ago, one of the sub-adult males of this pride disappeared down that pathway, so I think let's follow them and see where they go. Now, just have a look at the grey skies all around us. It's been a very rainy and cold, chilly day. And so often with these low temperatures, big cats like these lions will be quite active. If they need to hunt, they'll often do it at this time of the day when there's a bit of rain, a bit of wind, and there's a lot of ambient noise that helps them to conceal themselves as they stalk. There goes another lioness. Looks like they're all trotting towards something. I wonder if maybe not one of the older lionesses is there. And they're all going to go join up with her. It seems like they're all on the road, which is good for us. Susie, you're saying that they look very active. I know, they're running around and super energized. Oh, and they were this close to catching that warthog as well. It looks like they've just gone off to the left over here. There they go. Alright, we're going to try and catch up with them. Hopefully we'll have them when you come back to us.
I'm going to stay here. Okay, so look at that magnificent group of kudu bulls. But while we at it, I just want to show you these little ducklings are swimming so much closer to us now than they were earlier, and you've just got to see how incredibly adorable that these little things are. So there's 9 of them. There's another 3 swimming a little bit further to the left-hand side there. But how gorgeous is that? And this is for those of you who haven't been with us, we've been kind of tracking these shell ducks now for the past 3 weeks. We finally found the burrow site because they nest underground. If you don't know that, they often use aardvark burrows. This particular pair, or this female, was using a spring hair burrow, which is a tiny little burrow. It's only about 25 centimeters high, by about 15 centimeters wide, roughly. So they can get down really small entrances, and this is the first time that these little ducklings came down to the water this morning. A couple of people have asked me whether they will go back to the burrow. They won't at all. So they've left that burrow. It's looked after them well for the past month or so, maybe even a month and a half, but they now are free range on the water, and this is where they're going to have to survive for the next... Yeah, they fully fledged by, I think it's 60 days or 68 days. So this is really, really, really special. And these big kudu bulls in the background there as well. What a backstop to those little ducks. So I'm really humoured to see these ducklings where they are on the bank over there. They keep swimming to the edge, but they're very interested in what these other birds are doing there. So those other birds that are like flying in and out all the time, those are sociable weavers. There's a couple of yellow canary males and females stuck in amongst them. But these little ducklings keep on going to see what these birds are. They say, come on guys, but like you're the same size as us, but you're not in the water. What's going on here? But their defense now is to just stick in the water, even if there's an aerial predator or jackal or anything. Lions 8, my mum has just asked a question, and the question is, are shell ducks the largest duck species? No, they're not. You get a couple of other ones, and the whole duck goose thing is a bit of a misnomer there. You know, like an Egyptian goose is actually a duck. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that. Again, I stand to correction. But yeah, so you do get larger ones as well. You do get larger ones, but I mean, and then you get these diminutive little ducks. You get like, you know, these African black ducks. You get all sorts of crazy, cool, small ones. But these ones, I think, to my knowledge, are second largest after the Egyptian goose. Well, actually, maybe not. Maybe third largest. You get the comb duck, which used to be called a knobble duck. That's also quite a chunky bird. So just that into the kudu on the far left. So you just want to have a look at that kudu on the far left-hand side. He's watching that carcass. So for those of you who weren't with us this morning, that object lying in the water is actually the remains of a gemsbuck. This was a kill, the spotted hyena. There were 3 spotted hyena that chased this gemsbuck into the water, and we were just going on deciphering the tracks, the events of the night around up and down on the edge over there. And it seems like these spotted hyena chased this gemsbuck into the dam over here. And when we got here at 7 o'clock this morning, there was actually a hyena sitting in the water like a dog next to that carcass, and the other ones were lying down on the bank.
You are joining us with this rather large elephant bull, just crunching at the roots of what looks like a small bush that he's managed to dig up either with his feet or with his tusks or trunk. What a beautiful scene. Absolutely spectacular to be with this herd. It might be the same group that we had earlier today, the group of big male elephants that we saw. Welcome, my name is Michael Anderson. Behind the camera is Gert, and you're joining us here at Pridelands Eco Training Conservancy. And it is an absolutely spectacular afternoon so far. We have been looking for these elephants. They were reluctant to come to the water earlier when it seemed very windy and cool. Now that it's warm, we came by and we saw that they had already left the water and have now gone to feed on these rather dry, crackling bushes. That's probably why they needed to drink before they could start chomping. You can actually see his bottom lip is still a bit wet, or at least dark from the water that must have been being sprayed in his mouth. A very content-looking elephant, I would say. I think there's not much more than an elephant needs in life. Nice warm sun on its back, crispy meal, and a belly full of nice, delicious water. This one seems like it's missing a lot of its tail fur. That's interesting. I wonder. A lot of its fur is missing. I wonder if it maybe got bitten by something. Maybe when it was a bit younger, maybe lions tried to give it a bit of a chase and bit it, and its tail got bitten off. Just the tip of it, though. There's an old thing that I often heard when I was still training to be a guide, that all the older guides who'd been around for years and years used to say, if you want to prove your guiding muscles, so to speak, you must be able to pluck the hairs from an elephant. So maybe this is a very old elephant. Perhaps he's put many guides through their initiation. Of course, we don't really do that, and that's not a really ethical thing to do. Certainly shouldn't be plucking hairs of anything out in the bush. Sophie thinks he's balding. Well, I mean, he is maybe getting advanced in years, but I'd say he's just more wise. Luckily, we wouldn't know if he was... Oh, maybe that's how you tell if an elephant is balding, by its tail. Oh, no, he doesn't like that comment. I'm sorry. No, you look spectacular. You're a beautiful, handsome, strong male elephant. I think you are in your prime. You're perfect the way you are. Except your tusk. Your left tusk is a little bit broken. But it just shows that you've used it a lot in the past. Sophie, I'm not sure if he appreciated that comment. I shared it with him, and he kind of tilted his head a bit. But maybe you're right. Perhaps he is. Right, in the meantime, we're going to be sending you over to Trish at a waterhole.
I am at a watering hole and we have a little friend here. It is a water monitor. or a Nile monitor. And it is currently sharing the dam with the elephants that we had before. We were waiting for them to come down this way. And they have not disappointed. Elephants at a watering hole just are some of the most beautiful sounds and scenes. I'm going to be quite quiet because they are actually communicating in low rumbles. Perhaps you'll be able to hear it, and you'll be able to hear the water as they drink.
Rexon.
Isn't that just beautiful? The little ones drinking, the huge elephants drinking. That largest cow that you see there has just tipped some water into her mouth now. She appears to be the matriarch. You can see that her back is quite curved. That happens with age as they have more pregnancies. Painter Girl, you say that's such a great picture. It is, isn't it? It's like a postcard. The water monitor is intently looking at them, probably trying to figure out when it's safe for it to return back into the water undisturbed. Look at you. It was actually swimming when we got here, which is really, really cool to see. Often you see them basking on the edges because they are reptiles. So they need to get a good amount of sun. Yes, you do. Some energy for you to move about, but it's just awesome to see it in the water. Well, I'm going to stick around here and see what else comes to drink at the waterhole.
Not too much has changed with these leopards or this leopard and these hyenas. The hyenas every now and again they shoot their heads up and they look in the direction that this young male leopard was looking earlier. So they must be getting the scent of the female and his sister. And so let's see what happens. It'll be quite interesting because one's gotten up and walked away. It'll be interesting to see what happens when this one moves. If this young male decides to come down the tree, or if maybe that little leopardess is looking from a distance and she might think that this is her gap, because then she'll scurry straight up the tree. But that young male in the tree is completely unperturbed, and I mean he's a little over a year old and he's already had so many experiences with hyenas that he realizes that if he's up there, he's safe. If the hyenas stay down there, there's not too much that's going to happen to him. And so he's just looking around, not doing too much, and still no sign of the two other leopards that are in this area, but hopefully they start coming around soon. If there was a time for them to come, this is the time when the hyenas have moved off, so hopefully they appear shortly. So This male's just picked up his head and he's looking around. I think he'll be quite happy to know that there's no more hyenas underneath his tree. I wouldn't imagine they would have moved off very far. They both moved off in the same direction, and so they could be responding to a smell that they picked up. They could be responding to some noises that we couldn't hear ourselves. I would imagine that, you know, they'll probably maybe just go and investigate what's going on, and if there's nothing that is rewarding and brings them some good food, they might just come and return here. It's one of those things. They're sitting underneath a tree, not burning much energy at all, so I mean, it's quite simple to just sit and wait. And I mean, we saw this morning how precariously this young male was handling his carcass, and so it could drop at any time. See, and so it looks like he is feeling the effects of feeding and being up there the whole day. He's panting really heavily. You can see his whole body is shifting, even his tail's moving from side to side as he breathes. Little bit of moving, little bit of movement. So it looks like he's more just panting. I think he might even have his eyes closed. Welcome back to the SABC viewers. The hyenas that were lurking under the base of this tree have now gotten up and they've moved off, and this leopard has just picked up his head and he seemed to have been watching them as they disappeared. Everyone who's watching, please feel free to send through all of your questions and your comments. We love hearing from you. We love answering your questions as best as we can. So using @FC on YouTube or through Twitter, #WildEarth. And then you can do that exactly the same, #WildEarth on Twitch. So Felix, you're only 7 years old and you're already wondering how much a leopard can weigh. And so this one, being a young male, is obviously going to weigh a lot lighter than when he reaches adulthood. And when they reach adulthood, they can weigh up to about 60 to 70, maybe even 80 or 90, probably closer to 80 kilograms rather than 60, if I correct myself there. And so that's about 160, 170 pounds. The females, sometimes half of that, so between 40 and 50 kilograms, between 90 and 110 pounds or so. He probably weighs close to a fully grown adult female, so maybe a little under 40 kilograms, maybe 30, 35 kilograms. Now he's got a nice big full belly full of impala, and so it might be closer to 40 than 30 kilograms. But his sister, who is exactly the same age, is probably about maybe at least 7 or 8 kilograms lighter than he is. So he is up there and he's looking very, very comfortable. I think we'll give him a few more minutes, Owen and I, to see if there's any more action before we decide to move on for the day.
Well, we've got a very dramatic picture here. We're sitting with that same elephant bull that we had a moment ago. He's got a drongo as an attendant, waiting to snap up any insects with this beautiful dramatic skies behind. We look like we were about to have a big storm, but it seems to have blown over and just left us with these very pretty pictures. And right now they are feasting on just the best sticks. I'm pretty sure these are the best sticks on the whole of Pride Lands that they've found. They are full of thorns, which is great. They're also extremely dry and brittle, which is of course exactly what you want. Obviously, I'm just joking. They are having to eat these because that's literally all that's left. Which is quite normal. Every year we get these dry periods and elephants just make do with whatever they can find. And that's a bit of a young elephant, and watch what it does. So it's feeding one end of the stick into its mouth, and you should see the rest of the stick emerge out with no bark on it, or it's just going to eat the whole stick. Yeah, probably just the whole stick. Thanks very much for that. Next time I say something, you should follow my lead. But yes, they're literally eating whatever they can find right now. Sammy Jane, they are facing in opposite directions, and I don't think that it's anything to do with looking out for danger. You know what happened, actually? I think there's a cold shoulder thing going on here, because the bigger elephant actually stole the better sticks. The smaller one was feeding where the big one was, and then the big one did a little grumble and pushed away the younger elephant, and I think they're just grumpy with each other. So that's why they're back to back with each other. They're giving each other the cold shoulder. But you know what? This one is much larger, so he kind of has the right of way. I wouldn't argue with him either. It's interesting. Often you'll see them with these sticks in their mouth, and they spit out the wood and just eat the bark. But these ones are eating the whole thing. In the meantime, let's send you to Tswalu with some slightly less temperamental elephants.
Elephants are just so entertaining to watch. Sometimes they have disagreements, sometimes they're shouting at each other, sometimes they're playing, and sometimes they just are very calm and very peaceful, have a good drink at a dam. More are just streaming through. Elephants have a certain spring in their step when they come to water. They know it's time to have some fun. Sometimes they'll be fully submerged with their trunk used as a bit of a snorkel. And that is truly special to watch. Hi, Mpo. You'd like to know when do elephants sleep and for how long? Not for long at all. They can sleep standing up, thanks to special ligaments in their legs. And when they sleep like that, it can only be for maybe 20 minutes, 40 minutes, not very long. And they do also sleep lying down. The youngsters sleep lying down a little more often. And when they lie down, they sleep for a similar amount of time, and they sleep at different points in the day. They don't have a set time like we do, and in total, they may only sleep about 4 hours or so in the day. This is obviously with the condition of movement, what the rest of the herd is doing, whether they're feeling comfortable. And all of that, but they don't sleep a lot compared to how much our predators sleep, because remember, they've also got to keep on eating. They have these large bodies, they have poor digestion, so they have to continue eating and eating. Drinking up to 200 liters of water a day, eating about 300 kgs food for a big male during the day. So all of that feeding and drinking takes up a lot of time. Val, you had a wonderful comment about just how gorgeous this whole scene is. Absolutely. I see more streaming through. Maybe they'll have some fun while they're out here. Maybe we'll get to see them swimming. So I'm going to stay put. We did check out the den and it was not active. So why not spend our time with some ellies at a watering hole?
Oh, that would be fantastic if you get to see some elephants swimming. It's always one of the most entertaining sightings to behold, I think. Now this leopard hasn't moved too much. We've changed our position, so it might look slightly different on your screens. And we're trying to get a view of his face, so we could just show you all of the spots and the details around his face. And he was looking at us for a little bit, and then he decided to turn around. And if you look what he's done, it almost looks like he's leaning right up against one of those twigs. And he's kind of using that as like a pillow. And his whole one side of his mouth is completely pushed up. And so he's somehow managed to find a spot comfortable enough. There we go. He's repositioning again. But one of the most incredible things I find is the way a leopard can just make any tree that it sits in look like the most comfortable spot in the universe. And he's literally got 2 paws on one branch, his belly's hanging between another open gap, his back feet are on a branch, and he's literally just using a tiny little twig as a pillow. And he seems to be enjoying his sleep a lot. Tammy, he is a really gorgeous male leopard, and he's young and he's looking like he could grow to be quite a nice big male. So hopefully we get to see him reach the age of maturity. There will be a stage where the territorial male will kick him away, and sometimes they move off huge distances, sometimes they move quite close by. So hopefully he sticks around and we get to follow a little bit more of his life.
These elephants are still having a drink, and while some are done and moving off, some stragglers are just coming in. There's a little bit of fun to be had on the left there. Some play fighting. Ooh, that tusk is so close to that eye, it makes me nervous. They're just playing now, especially since they're all quite happy from all this water fun. Penelope, you have an awesome question. You'd like to know what causes skew tusks? Well, when elephants are quite young, they're born with something called tushes, which are essentially their milk tusks, or milk teeth, because tusks are modified in sizes. And those dissolve but provide direction for the permanent tusks. And if for some reason their direction is skew, those tushes, when they dissolve, then that tusk will grow in a skew manner. Also, when the tusk is very, very small and it's just starting to grow, movement, maybe a strong hit against a tree or something like that, like you can imagine with our teeth, you know, maybe got punched in the face or something like that, hopefully not, and your teeth ended up a little bit skew and they grew like that. But it doesn't generally happen to an adult who has already grown its tusks, because that would be a huge feat in order to skew that tusk. But that is an excellent question.
So we've got a stunning little steenbok. This is our smallest antelope that occurs on Tswalu in this region. We do have klipspringer as well. They're up in the mountains and got grey duiker, but both of those are actually quite a bit larger than these little guys. I'm going to grab my binoculars, see if it's a male or female. The males have got these incredibly sharp horns, and it's really nice to see these out actually foraging in the middle of the day. Well, okay, not the middle of the day. Yeah, that's a young male. But they're often nocturnal. In fact, more than half of their time can be spent foraging at night in the hot summer months. In fact, sometimes even a higher percentage than that. So when you get these cooler winter days, then it becomes optimal for them to forage. And the reason for this is not because it's a fun, nice temperature. It's just the nighttime temperatures get so low that it's definitely not fun to go foraging, and it's just counterproductive. Remember, the smaller the animal, the higher the heat loss, the potential heat loss, just because they've got a much larger ratio of mass to surface area. So they can lose heat very, very quickly. So these small animals have got to be very, very conservative in terms of their foraging times, behavioral adaptations to any environment like this, where you've got these huge swings in temperature from very, very high to very, very low temperatures. Yeah, and it is an adorable little antelope. I mean, but don't let that cuteness belie its. They can be super aggressive towards other steenbok. In fact, I've witnessed them killing conspecifics in territorial fights. So.
This male leopard has just started to move off of his twig pillow, and he's found a much more comfortable spot, or at least it looks a lot more comfortable. And with the cool breeze, it just seems like he's just enjoying the nice cool breeze. And we're almost at the end of the show for the SABC viewers. Just remember, if you would like to come and join us for the rest of the safari, please come and join us online. We'll be on YouTube, and we'll be here for another 2 hours.
Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. We are up close and personal with a wonderful herd of elephants. I'm just going to keep quiet for a moment because the wind has them a little bit suspicious. How beautiful. Just before you came to us, these two big ladies joined forces in front of us, looked at us, made a rumble, and then all four little babies disappeared behind them and started sticking their trunks out like that, trying to figure out what on earth do we want. There is Mama with her two youngsters. It's incredible how they can communicate like this. Hello everybody, my name is Steve. I'm very excited with BK on the vehicle, and we are blessed to be with some wonderful elephants. Welcome to the regular show, where you can send your questions and comments to #WildEarth, throw them in the YouTube chat stream, or at FC on Twitch. We've been around bumbling, trying to find some animals, and well, came across an elephant roadblock. Now, I'm going to reposition Beaks, but that has got to be, just before you came to us, one of the coolest... Oh, sorry, BK, I made you move and you charged us, that little one. That has got to be, without a doubt, one of the coolest little 2-minute interaction I've had. The females made a noise. The one female actually walked from the side. I know what it's all about. There's a big bull who's on his way from our left, Beaks. We'll get him shortly. Can stay with these ladies for now. That's exactly what's going on. Okay, you'll probably get him shortly. He's a big boy. Over my head we go. Now, the two females came out. One came sauntering down the road, and the other one was there, very relaxed, feeding on an apple leaf, which you don't often see elephants feeding, like really, really smashing apple leaves for food, but was enjoying that apple leaf. And then the two of them came out, a little bit of a... She booped her on the side with a trunk, and then they made a grumble, and all four babies just disappeared behind the females. It was really quite incredible. Really quite incredible. Just see the size of the bull, and it's often these gentlemen visiting herds that can cause them to get a little bit unsettled, a little bit unhappy with life. Okay, so we're going to see if we can maybe get you another view of these elephants.
Well, that sounds like it was certainly very exciting over there with those elephants. Now, apologies for the long delay between these lion sightings, everybody. We had to rush back under covers. We had a bit of another downpour of rain. But there seems to be enough clear skies for my soul and myself to come back out, and it appears these lions have managed to catch a warthog while we were away. Look at them all feeding underneath that bush. I'm going to keep quiet for a second, see if you can hear them crunching the bones. And every now and then there's a soft little growl. Seems some big crunches there. It seems that it's the three sub-adult lions that are busy feeding on this warthog. It looks like one young male off on the far left. You might just be able to make out his little mohawk of a mane starting, and then to his right, two young lionesses, two sub-adult lionesses. And looking at what's happening in front of us here, everyone, there's these two young lionesses and their sub-adult male brother. And then further off to the right, there's there's two other lions, two adult lionesses. And just looking at this, it seems as if it may have even been one of the sub-adult lions that actually caught this warthog. And apologies for the noise in the background, everyone. It's just a vehicle passing by. And that's quite interesting because we've been talking now for a while about these sub-adult lionesses of Mountain Pride and how they haven't really gotten to the age and size when they are able to effectively hunt just yet, but this may very well be their doing. They may well have killed this warthog, everyone. But yeah, so there are the two other lionesses lying down in the long grass. And it looks like this one sub-adult lioness has had enough. Look at how muddy her paws are. Coming out of the thicket there, giving herself a bit of a shake. Now, just under that thicket there, everybody. Megan, you're saying that it seems like all the animals like to eat warthogs. Shame, Megan. I think that they do, just because of their size and because of their relative abundance, they are quite often caught by predators. They're just kind of at a size where both lions and leopards will hunt them. And I think what may have happened in this instance, what I was just about to say, is that I think where that young lioness just went, did you see there was a bit of a dip? I think that might be the entrance to a warthog burrow, or a burrow probably dug by an aardvark that's been taken over by warthogs. And often on chilly days like this, rainy days like this, warthogs will spend quite a bit of time down in their burrows, sheltering from the rain, from the cold. So I wonder if maybe these lions didn't hear the warthogs milling around in the burrows, or in that burrow, and they maybe came and lay in wait at the mouth of this burrow. And perhaps as the warthog was rushing back, trying to get away from the rain, or maybe heading out after it had sheltered from the rain, perhaps it was caught unawares. And it's often interesting to watch how lions and leopards as well learn that they can catch warthogs like that by lying in wait at the entrance to a burrow. See now that young lioness on the far right busy grooming herself, licking all the blood and the mud off of her paws while her siblings continue feeding. I don't know if you can see just on the left there, there's that exposed bone that's sticking out there where the lions have eaten all of the meat off of that bone, exposing it. Quite gory. I apologize, everyone, if you are sensitive. It's probably not the nicest thing to look at. It looks like they've cleaned all of the meat off of that bone. But there does still seem to be a bit of meat there that's left. And that's what that young male is now feeding on. Apparently Dylan has spotted something off in the distance over at Tswalu. So while we enjoy our lions and watch them feed, let's go and have a look and see what he's found.
So we've come across a little colony of, what's that, a meerkat. Yeah, it's about, and that's why I've got to sit really still, because I've got this habit of like jumping around for joy on my game drive vehicle. But we're sitting at about 120 meters, so we're kind of at the long end of the lens there. And any little movement, I'll show you, you see what it does. So that's why I've got to sit really still. But what we're doing here, I'm indulging my African wildcat fetish again this afternoon. Not that we've seen one, but we will. And we will. But again, just please remember, while I'm looking, if I'm focused on one thing, we can see absolutely anything else. We could see brown hyenas, we could see aardwolf, we could see a mouse bird, we could see squirrels, we could see whatever. But the thing is, I just really, really, really want to check these, because what happens is, as we start moving in towards the summer months, towards end of August is almost a cut-off point there for the things that are typically nocturnal or more active at night. Aardwolf, African wildcats, things like this. So our window is closing on getting good sightings of these during the day, unfortunately. So just please don't hold it against me. Just bear with me if we spend quite a bit of time looking for these. I have got my eyes peeled for anything else, I promise. I'm not just a one-track minder. I can be if you want me to be, but don't tempt me. But what a gorgeous afternoon out there. And this is also Darby's first time out in these dunes. So we are fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I'm pleased that you're keen that we try to persist on this wildcat story. But when we see it, it's going to pay off. Like these ducks did, like the badger did, like everything we see out here. I don't care how common it is. It's just awesome spending time with it. And feel free to ask me questions. So here's an interesting thing. How's this? We had 5 wildcat sightings over a week and a half. In fact, if you include the ones that Veronique, the one meerkat habituator saw, I think there were 7 sightings in total over a week and a half. All of them were during the daylight hours. But when you read the literature, they say these animals are almost exclusively nocturnal. So it just shows how much we've still got to learn about animal behavior and environments. And depending where they've been studied, we can't just say, well, because you studied an African wildcat here, that applies to all of them across the board.
And it's so true. So many things that we read in the book, we must remember are general observations, but they can be many, many outliers, as we've learned our years spent in the bush. Hello to giraffe. Gorgeous bulls. And there were 3 others that slinked off into the bush not too far from here as well. So it's nice to see giraffe around, and in large numbers, not just the odd one here and there. So I've checked out the den again, hoping of course to find the hyenas and the cubs, but none were around. Which is unfortunate because this afternoon is my last drive until mid-August. So I was hoping that I could go off with a bang of hyenas. That would be awesome. I've tried so hard to come to the den almost twice every drive. But alas, we have not found hyenas yet. Oh, by the way, it's me, Trishala, and Theo, now that we're in a regular drive. Yeah, so let's hope. We had a wonderful elephant sighting. And some gorgeous giraffe. I know a lot of you will be excited to see these giraffe. And they're in excellent condition as well, I must say. They look really nice and bright and vibrant. Sometimes there's not a specific thing. You look at an animal and you think, oh, this looks good or this looks good. But just in general, something about the animal just looks strong and healthy. And the last 5 giraffes I've seen look that way, which I'm very glad about. Now I want to go and see if perhaps we can catch Tlalamba. She was so quick this morning, and those elephants causing a little bit of distress, so she was out very quickly and away from us. So hopefully we'll be able to catch up with her, and I think that I'm going to try and follow up.
Thanks, Trish. Well, everybody, we've caught up with our Ellies again. This little sassy one over here, Beaks. We're going to get some nice fun out of that one. Now, the herd is all around us. I'm just going to be quiet for a few moments so we discuss our plans for the afternoon and just allow you to enjoy all of the sounds. They're going to go behind the car. There's a female on the left beak. She's got a bit of takeaway. She's going to walk right past us. Yeah, so now watch this behavior, everybody. She's giving me a bit of a stink eye. She's not being aggressive. No aggression here at all, but if you look closely at that eye, you'll see that it's quite wide open. Basically telling me that I can see you there, sir. Don't you dare mess with my babies. And I shall not. So I do apologize if you do get a bit of a black square on the side of the screen. We had a few drops of rain a moment ago, and we had to put on our covers, including the all-important camera cover. So we are in amongst this herd, so I'm not going to be starting the car up at all. But they are quite relaxed. They basically walked up to us earlier and just gave us a little look and be like, you see all these little ones here? They're our family, and we shall look after our herd. A lot of the viewers are saying she was offering me a snack. She was saying, Steve, I think it's time for you to do my little Monday on the red bush willow. There's one of the trees that the elephants are loving, and I did plan on doing a medicinal plant this morning. We spent the whole morning tracking the lions, only to eventually find them disappearing out. Mandy, you want to know if elephants will fight with other elephants? Well, I've never really seen female elephants fighting with other females or other herds. But Tswalu had wonderful interaction, or should I say Raymond had wonderful interaction this morning, whereby a herd was basically fighting with each other, it seemed. I wasn't there. I don't know what the whole thing was about. But they're normally quite docile with each other. You know, the only time they get upset is when there's a male who's hanging around, who's showing lots of interest in the females, and they don't want him. It definitely causes lots of drama. This madam here passed some wind. You might have heard that. It was a very bubbly sound. And she's watching us. You see how she's turned her body so she can see? That's why when you're in amongst them like this, don't start up the car. Try and get in a position. If they walk around you, surround you, that's very good. They're not going to do that if they're uncomfortable with you, but if you're in the middle of them and you then start your vehicle and start moving around, you can cause them to react in a certain way, and that is the last thing we want to do from an ethical point of view. You can see her eyes quite soft there. Very soft. The eyelashes are tilted downwards. PK and I are going to carry on spending some time with our wonderful elephants.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Oh. What happened there? That young lioness just did like a little jiggle. Looked like she stuck her paw onto a thorn. Welcome back, everyone. The two other sub-adult lions have now left the carcass, leaving just the one young female. And look at how she's now dragging this warthog around, and it is an absolute behemoth of a warthog. Which leaves me to think that we may have got this a bit wrong, everybody. I would be very impressed if a young lioness this size, this age, were able to kill a warthog of that size. That looks like an enormous warthog boar. And if we listen carefully, we might actually look at how she's licking it. I'm going to keep quiet for a second, see if we can hear her. Now she's stopped licking the carcass, but whenever she licks it, just that rough tongue against that super rough hide, creates quite a loud rasping sound, almost like rubbing sandpaper over some wood. Oh, she's now throwing that carcass around. And there's again that very rough sound of her tongue as she licks the warthog. No doubt that she's going to probably try and open up the carcass a bit more. It seems like they've only really eaten the hind quarters, the lower back, and a bit of the inside of the kind of the body cavity. Which is interesting because there's still a lot of meat left on that warthog. But the other lions don't seem at all interested. I wonder if perhaps they haven't recently had a meal, and that this was more of a kind of an opportunistic hunt. They happened to find themselves close to this burrow and were just lucky to corner the warthog as it was coming in or going out of its burrow. There we go. It seems that she's lost a bit of her playfulness and that her desire to eat has taken over. See how she's starting to feed on the warthog? Very dexterously licking around the bones there. Tough to see from here, but it looks like there are some sticks in the way, but it does look like it might be a piece of the pelvis that she's busy cleaning up there. Licking the last bits of flesh out of the bones. Danny, you're saying that the lions don't seem to be very hungry, that you've never seen so much meat left on a warthog. Danny, I agree. I don't think that these lions are super hungry. If they were really ravenous, then definitely all 5 of them would be all over this carcass still, and they wouldn't stop eating until there was nothing left of it. There'd be a lot of growling, a lot of snarling, each lion trying to maintain its hold on its piece of the carcass. So I think that that's more than likely what happened, is that this was not, of course, big cats like these lions being opportunistic, and as a lion you never know when your next meal is going to come. So even if you are quite full and not in desperate need of a meal, if an opportunity arises where you're able to make a kill without expending too much energy, you're going to take it. And I think that that's what's happened in this instance here. But initially there was, one of the older lionesses getting up. Let's see what she does. Looking at her tummy, it looks like she has got quite a bit of food in that belly. I don't think she is starving, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens if she comes up to this carcass and tries to feed as well. There might be a bit of growling from the younger lioness. Oh no. She walked all of 10 meters and then flopped down again. But that's not necessarily to say that she's not going to come and try to eat a little bit later. And often that's kind of how a lion will approach a kill. If there's a lion that's busy feeding on a morsel, to walk straight in and aggressively go and try to start feeding will often elicit quite an aggressive response from the lion that's busy feeding. And so often if you watch lions feeding around a carcass, if there's one that wants to join, it will kind of very surreptitiously creep its way towards the carcass and slowly make its way, slowly start to lick and then start to feed. Unless you're the biggest lion in the group and the most aggressive, most dominant lion, it's generally better to approach things like that. If you want to avoid getting growled at or getting a paw to the face and maybe a claw embedded in your scalp. Joy, you're wondering at what age a sub-adult lion would be able to take down a warthog. Joy, at this age, this particular young lioness she's currently probably about maybe 16, 17 months old, and at this age she's definitely big enough and strong enough and coordinated enough to tackle maybe up to the size of, I would say, probably a sub-adult warthog or maybe even a small warthog sow. A big warthog boar like that, I don't know that she's strong enough and coordinated enough to make that kind of kill. But certainly by about 2 years she should be able to do just about anything in terms of physical strength that her mother and aunt would be able to do. But I think even at this age, a younger warthog she would definitely be able to take down. Just depends on the size of the warthog. Of course, a big boar like this, I know we can't see it too well now, he's got very big tusks and a very powerful head and neck, and could very easily injure this young lioness. That's why I'm a little bit skeptical. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think it's likely in this instance. I mentioned earlier that we did watch these lions chase some warthogs, and so while that was happening, this kill must have been taking place. But in that chase, this was one of the lionesses, or one of the lions that was involved in that chase was this young lioness, and she was very, very, very close to catching a warthog for herself. Yeah, it was quite impressive. It's good to see that these youngsters have risen up to the mark, kind of thing, where they are now able to actively take part in the hunt. Although they might not be strong enough to bring larger prey down by themselves just yet, they're certainly fast and nimble, and the young lionesses are showing themselves to be stealthy and patient. Quite exciting to watch, and nice to see their progression, us having followed these cubs for the last year or so. Good to see them starting to fulfill that role as an adult lion of being able to hunt.
Can you see it? It is the chameleon. Yes, not any chameleon, but the chameleon. The one next to the big dead leadwood on Twin Dams Road. Happily chilling at the base of the saguaro bush, very, very well hidden. Ooh, Theo took a risk there. So now he's gonna have to go back and find it. Well done! There are those gorgeous eyes. See how well hidden it is in the grass? As well as the green leaves of the guarri bush. It's just perfect. Thought I'd have to pay it a visit before I go out. Gremlins, you say. The plant is alive. It is always alive, but you knew that, and now it's even more alive because it has blood on it. Blood in a body, a vessel. Breathing, looking, attachment. Imagine if one day they fused together into a camellia tree. Sorry guys, just a thought. Guarimelian. Do you like that idea, chameleon? Such gorgeous creatures. This one is so little it would fit in the palm of my hand. Oh, we got two eyes looking at us now. Oh, Joe. You say their leaves have eyes. The next big blockbuster out of Tswalu Game Reserve. That sounds like a great title to a Scooby-Doo-like wildlife-based book, kids' book. The leaves have eyes. And the chameleon can tell a story of something that it saw happen, but nobody else could see it because it had these eyes that move all over the place and can move independently, that it managed to see the person getting shot, plus the shooter. Amazing. The leaves have eyes. They're gorgeous. But I believe the grass have teeth. at Ngala.
The grass certainly does have teeth. That's going to be the next blockbuster after the Juma one. We have come back to the pride of lions we were with this morning, and just look at how camouflaged that male is. And so he's one of the dominant males of the pride, and as always with males, they tend to be slightly away from the rest of the pride, isolate themselves, and the rest of the pride seem to be slowly but surely showing more signs of life compared to this morning. So that's his brother, and those two are the dominant ones of the pride of lions that we have. And as we pan a little bit more to the left, look at that massive cat pile. A whole group of them together. So that's cubs, sub-adults, mothers, and one of the smallest ones. The smallest one has just been flattened. There it is. Looking quite skinny. But we saw it drinking pretty much for the whole morning this morning, so I'm sure it's still doing okay. But the weather is so interesting at the moment. It's very windy and it's overcast, which is making it very dark for this time of day. And so that's why we decided to move away from that sleepy leopard and come towards this pride of lions in the hope that they might be showing a little bit more sign of life, and they definitely are. And so the one right at the back that's just grooming himself is that young male, and one of the cubs seems to be brave enough to try and come and play with the adults or the fathers. And so let's see how it gets received. It's creeping up. Listen for the snarl. That's a brave little lion cub. Sometimes these males are capable of being a little bit affectionate, but I think they only allow the cubs to come and be affectionate for a few seconds, and then their patience runs thin, and then they snap at them. But this is exactly what we were hoping for, and I think we've got you at a really nice time where some of the cubs are showing more movement. These males are yawning. It almost seems like a slight role reversal where all of the females seem to be sleeping and the two males are the only ones with their heads up out of all of the adults. So that's... yeah, that one there in view. Roxanne, I completely agree with you. To see the interactions within the pride, I think, is something that makes these lion sightings so incredibly special, and just to watch the dynamics of the whole pride. And so as we sit here, I mean, it all looks like they just found a spot and they plunked down, but I think there's a little bit more strategy involved here. These cubs are right in the middle, just on the right hand side. Behind them is one of the adult females. Over there she's lying flat, and then as we pan to her is the young male, and we all know how much this young male has been getting pressure put on him to leave the pride. And so whenever he's in a group like this, he tends to lie directly opposite the dominant males, so he can see them approaching. But he'll almost try and find a way to either lie right in the middle with all of the cubs, or using the cubs almost like a barrier to lie on either side of them. And so if the males get up and act aggressive towards him, then the females will try and protect the cubs. So as you can see, there's lots of grooming, there's some playfulness happening. Like I say, I think we have timed this really well. So Owen and I aren't going to be moving anytime soon. And as soon as the activity picks up, I'm sure we'll see you back here shortly. Apologies about that, everyone, but it just seems like Dylan was just getting his mid-afternoon snack. Once he's finished eating, I'm sure he'll be with you guys again. So what I really love about a situation like this is the way that these older sub-adult or now sub-adult cubs interact with these younger ones. And I mean, these are the smallest lions that these sub-adults have ever seen before. And look at the teeth that that one has already. I mean, if it wanted to, it could inflict quite a lot of damage into this small little cub. And so it's just so interesting to see how curious they are with them and how they come up and investigate with them. They sometimes play a little bit too rough with the young cubs, but the young cubs don't back down. They'll snarl and hiss and smack. And eventually the older cubs will start to lose interest. I just love how spotty these little youngsters still are. So all over the face, tiny, tiny little spots and a whole bunch of spots on their legs. And there's pretty much only a year between that cub in frame and the one directly behind it, and the size difference is just mind-boggling. Cheryl, it's a hard decision to make, but between lions, leopards and cheetahs, I think little lion cubs have to be the cutest of the three. It's just something, and I think it is those small little spotty faces that do it for me. And the one's just falling asleep again. Closing its eyes very, very slowly. It's reacting to, I think it might be the one of the sub-adults in the foreground. Let's see, this young male's off. George, you can come and join me on safari any day if you agree that the lion cubs are the cutest. You've earned yourself a spot on my vehicle. So this one is walking away, and I think it might just be going to relieve itself. And it's obviously chosen the direction where the wind is blowing straight onto us. But his father has just stood up and is watching where it's going towards. It's very promising to see the males so active. I mean, 9 times out of 10 in a pride like this, they tend to be so much more sleepy. So nice to see them up and about. It sounds like Dylan might have finished off his mid-afternoon tea. So let's go and see if he's done eating.
I'm not going to make any bones about it. We need to have a meaty discussion. No, I'm just ribbing you, don't worry. But what we've got here is pretty cool. You may recall a couple of weeks ago, Jeandre and I sat in a little blind watching those that brown hyena feeding on the eland carcass with the jackals. Well, now it's my turn. Kind of that's where I'm in the pecking order here. So it's like brown hyena, jackal, microbes, Dylan. But anyway, what I wanted to show you is just how nice and clean this carcass has got. And not only that, inside here, and we can have a look at it through the ribs or over here, in the stomach contents, there are tons and tons of seeds. Okay, so these seeds are from the camel thorn tree. So this animal was obviously eating a lot of seed pods. So what we've got here is this huge nutrient pump now. This animal's, it passed its prime and it's now just busy breaking down. Obviously, a lot of the stuff's been taken away by things, but this is now a fantastic source of nutrients for whatever's going to be in this area, including these seeds. It's going to be a great germination spot. Hyenas are already working away on this. There's been a lot of stuff that's been taken off. There's all the legs are missing. There's one still lying next, or two. I'm actually lying on one. So it's missing 2 legs. The other 2 are still here, but over time this entire thing will just get broken down to dust. But how awesome is this, eh? It's just nice to see this whole cycle of life and just how it works and just how efficient things are at breaking these massive. Monique asks, what does it smell like? It smells beautiful. It's got such a soft, delicate scent. I think the aroma of cardamom, puppy ears, rose petals, salt spray from the ocean. Yeah, it's just delicious. And that's kind of where wine tasting, my extensive wine tasting goes, because I could probably describe this carcass better to you than I could describe a red wine. Doesn't matter how good the red wine is. Sorry, I'm an absolute heathen when it comes to that stuff. But no, it actually doesn't smell bad at all. Really. It's time to leave. Now I can say, I've been inside an eland. What do they say? Outside of a dog, a book is a man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read.
I don't know if I'd be able to fit inside that warthog as one might be able to fit inside an eland carcass, but the way that this young lioness has been feeding on this warthog, she's putting in some good work. I think that pretty soon
there won't be a warthog left to fit in.
pretty much, yeah. Marcel is just saying pretty soon there's not going to be a warthog left to fit in, the way that she's busy eating. It's like she suddenly found her appetite, everybody. It's almost as if now that she hasn't got the competition of her sister and her brother, that she's just absolutely devouring this carcass. She's been feeding quite rapidly. Look at how she keeps turning her head sideways, letting those cheek teeth, that carnassial shear in the cheeks of her mouth, the back of her jaws, cut off that meat from bones. There's been hardly a sound, just the odd little crunch as she bites through a rib. And the rest of the pride all peacefully lying down, sleeping flat on the ground. Don't know that will be very comfortable, seeing as it has been raining quite a bit today, like I said earlier, so the ground will be wet and muddy. Oh, it does not sound very comfortable at all, lying down in some wet grass on some slushy mud. Ugh. But something that we've noticed, everyone, and he's quite conspicuous by his absence, is that there's a sub-adult male that's missing. And for those of you who've been following along now for the last few weeks with this part of Mountain Pride, it's been the 2 older lionesses and then the 4 sub-adults, the 2 young lionesses and the 2 young males of those 4 sub-adults. And there's only 1 young male in attendance here. And it's been quite some time since we last saw the other young male, so I don't know what has happened to him. At this age, I don't think he'll be able to, well, certainly the last time that we saw him, I don't think I've ever seen him make any attempt at trying to catch anything, so no doubt if he is by himself, he'll be struggling to catch enough food to eat. If he's able to scavenge, of course, that will be helpful. But in the time that he's been gone, this kind of group or these individuals of mountain pride have been moving to kind of the far reaches of their territory, and it has taken them close to the boundary of their northern neighbors, another pride of lions that lives to the north. And of course that pride does have 2 male lions that are not the fathers of these sub-adults, and I wonder if perhaps he hasn't met up with them, in which case it was probably not a very probably wouldn't have ended well for him. But it's noticeable now because it's been a long time. And often lions, when they move around, sometimes the one individual gets separated, and a couple of days' time it meets up with the rest of the pride and there's a big reunion. But yeah, it has been a long time since we last saw that young male. So I don't know what has happened to him. I don't think, we don't need to jump to any rash conclusions just yet. Jackie, you're saying it's so interesting how lions are able to move away from their prides and then somehow find their way back and rejoin, and often there's a big reunion with lots of groaning and yowling and grunting, and it's quite an entertaining and heartwarming scene to witness. And Jackie, I really do hope that he does rejoin, that he is still okay, that he is just out there a little bit lost. But I'm sure that if he is out there, if he just keeps on walking and following or trying to find the scent trail of his family, calling. Of course, lions able to produce those fantastic roars that we all love so much, and that will definitely help him to find the rest of his family if he is nearby. But from one pride of lions to, I think, quite a bit of a bigger pride of lions, let's go and have a look at what the Birmingham Pride at Ngala is up to.
Not as much action as what Damon's experiencing with the lions at Phinda, but like we were saying, there's signs of life that are slowly but surely creeping into these lions, and we've got the first adult female who's got to head up and see if you can recognize which one it is. And so it's that one we're slowly zooming into, and she's just the biggest one in that group, so it makes a lot of sense that she is the adult female. And if you look at her face, I mean, she looks rather old. She's got a very, very dark nose. She got quite a few cuts. Those ears are looking a little bit tatty, and then also she's starting to lose quite a lot of color. So it just seems almost like a gray tinge to the tawny coat that she has. And so she's the oldest lioness of the pride. And if we pan just to the right of her and look behind her, that one over there, so that is the female that was missing for almost 6 days, almost a week, I think between 5 and 6 days. And so she's just managed to find her way back in towards the pride. And I'm pretty sure that the one that she's cuddled up to is her mother. And so I'm sure after a week of stressing and panicking of whether or not she would be able to find them, she's going to find it very hard to leave the mother's side. And for those of you who haven't been following and have just tuned in for the last little while, that young female that I was just talking about wasn't with the pride for about a week. And we had reports from other reserves to the west of us that she was there, and she was by herself, and she was frantically looking around calling for the pride. When she was doing that, this pride of lions went east, and they crossed off of Ngala, and they continued moving east. And then last night, somehow they turned around and they walked back still into the eastern part of the reserve. And this morning we found this young female with the pride together again. And so she survived by herself for a week, and this male's just stood up in front of us. That's very cool. Let's see what he decides to do. I wonder if he might go and instigate some movement. So he might move towards one of the lionesses. Or the sub-adult male, the young male. Maybe that's where he's heading towards. He doesn't look too aggressive, but he's creeping up on him, and that the young male doesn't know that this older male's walking towards him. And look what he's doing. Bit of a scratch over there, so it almost looked like he was doing a bit of a dominance display in front of the young male. Okay, so now the young male's picked up his head, and he's noticed that this other older male's a little bit close for comfort. He's looking completely relaxed though. See how the ears have just gone flat. He doesn't want to lock eyes, he doesn't want to make eye contact in case this older male considers it a threat or a challenge. But look what this older male's doing. See what he's doing with his head. And so he's gone across to some urine that one of these females has left behind, and he's testing it to see if there's any pheromones that might indicate this female could be ready to mate anytime soon. So Laf, he might see, look at this, look what's going on. And this is one of the reasons why he might leave Laf, is because he gets chased away by the dominant males. And so these ones here that are displaying in front of him aren't his fathers. He's wanting to check out this female who's gone to the loo. So I think he's quite lucky, but this is very close for comfort for him. It's one of those moments, if you don't look, he's not there. So he's trying not to make eye contact. And this is the intriguing thing about this situation that we have, is he should have been, I mean, just to finish the question, Laf, he should have been chased away by now. I mean, he's coming up to almost 5 years old. So he's between 4.5 and 5 years old. He should have been kicked out of the pride by about 3, maybe 3.5 years at a push. And now he's survived for another 1.5 years. And so we're not entirely sure what's happening. If eventually he might move off and he might get chased away by the males. It might even be the females that turn on him and decide to drive him away. But he's by himself, so it makes it a lot harder for him to survive.
So from the young male lion that you've just been with, we've young lioness again. She's still very close to Leopard Dam. As you can see in the picture, it's very windy, and she's watching very intently a herd of impala, really hoping that she gets lucky. She's been stalking since this morning. Remember when we saw her, she chased some impala and then she went flat inside a drainage line. Now she's come out and she's watching an impala herd. So we're going to stay here and be very quiet, and hopefully she's going to get lucky. You can see her ears are pricked forward, her eyes are very intent, and she's low down in this grassy bushes. So she's very, very well camouflaged. And you can see the wind is blowing. It's very gusty right now, and the wind is swirling a little bit. So she's waiting for the wind to right for her, and the impalas to move just in the right position, and then she'll try and get a bit closer to them. The impalas do know she's here. They were alarm calling earlier. That's how one of our vehicles managed to find her earlier. But you can see with that picture now, as Gert zoomed out, how well she's camouflaged. I mean, if you were walking past here or driving past here, you would almost not even see her unless there was something that gave her away. I mean, the only thing that we can see is the flicking of her ear. It's incredible. And that's how she's been able to be so successful, even though she's on her own, which is amazing. Our brave lioness. She's quite spectacular to watch. And we've spent so much time with her over the last few months, especially in and around the camp. And she's really getting to grips with this. Now you can just see the tips of her ears. She's put her head down even further. We might try and reposition a bit later, but for now we don't want to disturb her because we are quite close to her, and although she's not paying us any attention, if we move around too much, it might distract her from what she's trying to do, and that is watch these impala very intently. You see her ears just moving back and forth just a little bit. Just listening to anything that might be moving around her. She is alone, and there are hyenas around. There was one hole earlier, and she's a young lioness, so if a big hyena is nearby, they could chase her off the kill if she makes one. So she needs to be very, very alert. See those dark patches behind her ears now as she turns her head. Amazing. Angie, that's spectacular. She's stolen my heart, that's for sure. And that's why she's been named Lagatha, because she is, just it's a name that we've given her here, just because she is so spectacular to watch, and she's just amazing and fierce and beautiful. And we all watch her very, very, very closely because we just love to see how she's managing to survive on her own out here in this very tough African bush. I mean, we've seen big male lions, young male lions. We've got a whole clan of hyenas that moves around here, and she manages to avoid them all and stay on top of the game. So she's amazing. Angie, I agree completely. She's stolen all of our hearts. She's just turned her head. I know the impala were walking in the direction that she was looking. So she's definitely still very aware. The whole day we've been in camp, as I said earlier, all the students have left now, so the camp's been quiet, and all we've heard the whole day is just sporadic alarm calls from these impala. So she's been shadowing them. But of course, those impalas, they can't do anything about it. If they turn their backs and run off, there's a chance that she could chase them and catch them. So they'd rather stay very still and keep an eye on her, know where she is, chance to run as soon as she does. If they turn, it's real trouble. So let's just wait here quietly what happens.
It certainly sounds like it's a lion-filled afternoon across all the conservation areas of South Africa. Tswalu, and well, at least with that eland carcass, and Ngala, Pridelands, and beyond Pinder as well. And it's still just this young lioness busy feasting on that warthog all by herself. I've just seen the old lioness to her right, whose view is obscured by a bush currently. She's just lifted her head, and I'm hoping that as she gazes in the direction of the carcass that she gets up. Oh, she's getting up. I'm really hoping that she goes over to join her daughter. So watch how carefully she's going to approach now. Walking very slowly, not looking directly at the other lion or directly at the carcass, wanting to, not quite sure how to approach. That warthog is in a very difficult spot to approach surreptitiously. Look at how hesitantly she's approaching, even though she's so much bigger than her daughter. She doesn't want to get any growls or get any swats from the other lion, risk injury to herself. Because even though that is her mother, that young lioness will defend what she now sees as her food quite fiercely. Shame the old lioness, her ears back, trying to be submissive as possible. And it seems like she's maybe going to try from the other side of the bush. It's a horrible bush though for that carcass to be in. Fantastic from a cover point of view. It means that it's going to be tough for any scavengers to spot from above, but not if you're trying to be sneaky. And lying down again. So still obviously not in any serious rush to try and get a mouthful of food here. Like we said, she doesn't look like she's in desperate need of a meal. She looks like she's got quite a full tummy. Looks like she's in very good condition. Double H, you're asking how unusual it is that there's just one lioness that's eating on this carcass as opposed to the whole pride. Double H, it's unusual, I suppose, in the sense that normally when lions are eating, they're all fiercely fighting with one another for every last morsel of food. But I think that the reason that this is the case in front of us now is just because of what we've described. All the lions seem to have already had a meal earlier today, or maybe even yesterday sometime. And this warthog kill was more than likely an opportunistic kill. It wasn't out of desperate need for hunger. It was just that there was an opportunity that the lionesses saw that they decided was going to be an opportunity that they could make a success out of without costing themselves too much energy and without injuring themselves, and they took it and they were successful. So they killed the warthog even though they weren't desperate for food. And although that does sound quite wasteful, it's an instinct that many large predators have. And if you think about it, I mean, these lions never know when their next meal is going to come. It's not like with us where we can go into a store and get some food or go home and open the cupboard and cook something. These lions never know when they're going to get their next meal. And so any opportunity they can get, they will take. And so that's why this young lioness has got the carcass to herself. Others are all full.
Well, let's hope not every opportunity, Damon, because I'm off the vehicle. But they are indeed wonderful tracks over here heading straight down the road, and they're very interesting to see these tracks because these tracks are made by quite a large animal. Probably just see the shininess over there. BK initially thought maybe elephant. It's not an elephant. The reason why I want to show you these is because something we drive past all the time that BK has been uncertain of. I don't know, this is probably the better one here. Biggs, can you see the toes there? The toe over here, big toe over there, big toe over there. It's not very clear, everybody, but it's the tracks of a rhino. And the reason why it's interesting is because the rhino has been walking along the road, and there's this wonderful leadwood stump over here that has been smoothed down by this animal's body. This is so smooth, rubbed down, beautiful, beautiful. See how my hands are dirty from mud? So sometimes you'll find mud in here, like that, where the rhino's been mud wallowing. It will come in and scratch, and sometimes you can look closely and you'll even find a tick that's been scratched off of the body itself. But this is so smooth. I actually know a guy, well, I knew a story of a guy who used to get really nice hard wood and sort of bury it out in his property where there were rhinos, and he'd leave it so that the rhinos could come and smooth it off for him, and then go make it into stuff, make it into ornament pieces and all that sort of thing. And the rhino have done all the work for him. How cool is that? So it's not only rhino that will do this. Warthog, elephant, buffalo, everybody will scratch. But this is along a pathway. This is white rhino dung right over here. And there is a rhino midden just over there. So a wonderful little spot quite close to his sort of place. And you'll be visiting this quite regularly. Chevy and Chris, how cool is that, eh? Now it's on both sides. So on the side over here you can't really see it clearly because it's on the wrong side. But he'll rub his legs, his bum, his body, his side of his neck, anything that's itching. He might even straddle it and scratch his undercarriage. Yeah, I did say that. I think I'm going to get back on the car. There's not much else you can say after that. Well, lions don't scratch themselves the same way rhinos do, but when they do get moving, they do get moving.
Right, so we are still with this young lioness. We've moved slightly to get a slightly better view. We still have to be very quiet. We have to be very still because you see her ears just poking towards us every now and again, just listening, just making sure we're not getting too close. She's still looking. Now she's changed her angle. She's actually looking down towards the water, which I'm not sure is a great idea. The impalas that were here moved slowly up this hillside and actually gone bus, which means that they are upwind of her. She will be downwind of them, which will be good for hunting. I just have to be quiet for a minute. She's looking down to the water, hoping maybe she can ambush something going down. But of course, her scent is actually actually blowing straight down to the water's edge, so I don't know. Best idea. But then again, I don't have to hunt for my food. What she's doing much better than I do. She's been doing well enough so far. You can just still see how, even in this tiniest amount of grass, how she's managed to hide. There's literally just one clump of grass between us and her. And I think if we were driving past her, we probably would have missed her completely. Amazing to see how she blends in, especially now. I mean, in the summertime, when it's green, she blends in just by virtue of the long grass. But now, when the grass is shorter, she uses that amazing tawny color to blend in perfectly with the surroundings. See, there's a few bushes and shrubs and fallen trees. The elephants have been very busy here, and so she'll use all of these obstacles to her advantage when stalking impala or any animal. She'll stalk quickly when they're not looking up to another stump, then crouch down and wait. In fact, when we moved into this position, she did move forward a few steps, and it was amazing. She had a half crouch for about a minute or 2 minutes without moving at all. It was completely still. It was amazing. So our lioness is going to keep staying still here, but we've got other lions with Eric that are a bit more active.
These lions are just coming down to drink, so we've got half of the pride that are already here, already at the waterhole, and we're just waiting for the rest of them to come. And they're walking straight down this pathway. They're literally following one another, and some of the younger ones are really starting to be quite playful. So that one on the rock was threatening to pounce on the young one, but it seems like it's happy on the rock there for now. And then one of the adults is drinking. So the only ones that we're missing are the two oldest lionesses, the two big dominant males of the pride, and then I think it's just maybe about 4 or 5 of the cubs, including the little ones. Here we go, here comes the white one. It's almost... David, a lioness will start giving birth when she's about 3.5, 4 years old, and she'll give birth anywhere from 1 to 4 cubs at a time, and she'll give birth every sort of 3 years or so. I mean, an old lioness will live until about 16, 17 years old, and so that's probably about 4 sets of cubs that she can, sometimes if a lioness loses her litter, she'll come straight back into estrus rather than wait that 2.5 year period. But this is the young female who was separated from the herd, who's getting a big drink. And just look at her hips. You can see that they're starting to stick out. I think all of those little scars are from old insects or little bites that irritated her, but she's looking a lot skinnier than the other cubs, and so I'm sure she hasn't eaten sufficiently in a while. And I think she saw the majority of the pride getting up and moving on, and she just decided, I'm not getting left behind again, and she started running down the pathway. We joined by a couple more cubs, or at least the sub-adults now walking down the pathway. I can see one that's just gone behind the bush, so it will turn the corner quite shortly. But the lionesses are showing a little bit more sign of being active. They're focusing with their ears, they're listening to what's going on around them, and I'm sure they're plotting their next move. And so they're walking, or they're facing straight into the wind so they can smell and hear things approaching them. I'd imagine there'll be some sort of playfulness happening here. Yeah. That was a pretty good pounce. So how many do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the older cubs So we're missing 3 of them, and then the 2 youngest ones with the males. So we've got about 6 more lions to come. The female of the youngest cubs is here, so I wonder if she just decided to tell those very young cubs to just go and find a place to hide. And another lioness is coming. This is one of the oldest ones. And one of the cubs is in that prone pouncing position, waiting for her to turn the corner. Okay, watch her. Not nearly as brave with a lion so big. And now it's the male's turn. So let's see how these cubs take on the male. Head down, submissive, doesn't want to touch the male. Oh, and this female's just about to drink. I always find it fascinating how close the cubs will come and drink by the mother. They'll literally, if they could, they'll literally touch cheeks as they're drinking. And now the oldest white lion cub is coming down. We might have a bit of a family portrait. So we've got mother and daughter who's drinking, and it looks like the big male might come down and drink. So we'll have mother, father, and daughter. Not today. I jinxed it. Tammy, this is wonderful. It's just so nice to be able to see them on the move. I mean, we've been waiting for them to get active. And a lot of the time we'll think that these lions might get up and start moving around, and then they just sleep. So to see them up and about and moving, and that nice, playful, light-hearted side of the sub-adult cubs is always so cool to watch. Looks like the male's going to find a nice grassy patch to settle down on. And so it looks like they're looking straight up the river. They might rest here for a little bit longer, but there's a good chance that they'll get up and start moving. So we might try and reposition and see if we can get the whole pride. If they do decide to walk, walking straight down the river towards us.
Thanks, Mike. We've got a red-billed hornbill who's been munching away and munching away. I have no doubt he's turned over this pile of elephant poo and has found multiple amounts of termites because he's been very busy. Very, very, very busy. This time of year, there you go, that's what we call leaf tossing or poo chucking. But leaf tossing is the normal state of it. Obviously, this elephant dung happens to be in the middle of the road. If this was out just in the normal dry grass area, the same process would happen. This time of year, you get mainly termites moving into dung and decomposing it. The dung beetles long since laid their eggs and many of them died off, waiting for the rains. He's been busy for about 5 minutes, munching away. So what appears to you all to be a pile of poo is a smorgasbord of nutrition for this hornbill. And it's this trait that allows many of the birds that live here in the winter months to sustain their diet. Very energy efficient, moving around, using that very powerful beak to just move everything like peanuts, popcorn. It's a very quick feeding rate is going on there. We don't want to go any closer to disturb him, but I'm almost certain it's termites. It could even be ants. Most likely termites, because they do move into the dung. And having disturbed the dung like that, with the sun obviously being covered by the clouds, the termites could actually be quite active. Can you see anything, Beaks? Let's see if we can see something. Yeah, they're very small, whatever it is. It could be very small little ants attracted to the moisture underneath the elephant dung. Obviously, many different organisms will utilize elephant dung. Many insects breed fly larvae, beetle larvae, especially in the summer months. We find butterflies using elephant dung to drink off of the moisture. And there's enormous amounts of organic material as well in there that animals like spurfowls, guinea fowl will actually eat. Eat that fermented vegetation. He's having an absolute ball over there. And at the same time, everybody, he's spreading out the dung. So the dung is then covering more surface area and spreading more organic material onto the surface, which then creates more shelter and more shade and more ability for the soil and the bacteria to break down and recycle the nutrients. Painter Girl, so many live kills indeed. He's just going for it. Now, obviously everybody, birds don't have teeth, so what he's doing is that just swallow, 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 and all these things go into the crop. And after the crop, then goes into the gizzard, which is a sort of muscular contraption, sometimes with stones, which helps to grind down the food. Well, hornbills don't have teeth, but lions most certainly do.
The adult lioness, one of it, has just joined her daughter at the carcass, and it seems like the second adult lioness is making her way over too. So the time that sub-adult lioness has had on the carcass is coming to an end, or at least the time that she had it to herself is coming to an end. She's about to be sharing it with two much bigger lionesses, but no doubt. Let's see if there's some growling here. Let's listen. See how slowly she approached the car. Oh, suddenly all the lions have decided it's time to come and eat. Some very low growls coming from these lions, everybody. They're almost imperceptible. But because of that... Ooh, listen to that. Some of the lions making... Oh, shame. There goes the poor young lioness. Popping out the other side of the bush. She's decided she's had enough. Too many lions on the carcass now. There's a young male deciding that this is maybe not worth it. Too many lions on too small a piece of carcass that remains. And I was just wondering, we've been talking now about how unusual it's been that it's just been that one lion that's been feeding on the carcass. And looking at, or having a look through my binoculars at all the different lions here, that particular young lioness that was on that carcass she looks to be the smallest out of all these lions. And typically in a lion pride, because kind of hierarchy over a carcass is determined by which lion is the biggest, which lion is the most aggressive. And so often if you're the smallest lion, it means that unless you can be very, very, very ferocious, it means that you're probably going to go hungry, or at least get the least amount of food out of each carcass or out of each kill. And that may have been why she was there, just trying to get that bit of extra nutrition into her, taking advantage of the opportunity of having the rest of her family already full-bellied. Perhaps that's why, well, that's the only reason I can surmise as to why she was eating the most. So you're asking how long lions can go without eating. So they can go for more than a week. But of course, when it gets past kind of, I suppose 3 or 4 days, you'll start to notice the change in body condition quite quickly. And yeah, lions do lose condition very quickly. They start to show their rib cage and their backbone. But more than a week, they can go without food. Perhaps even longer, maybe more than 10 days. I've heard of cheetah going for more than for 2 weeks or so without food. That would be very serious though for any big cat. But listen to them now, all busy feeding. They've all settled down. Listen to the growling. Nothing too hectic, just some gentle low growls here and there, just warning each other, hey, this is my piece of meat, don't try and take it. And of course that low intensity again shows us that they're not being super competitive over this carcass. They've already got pretty full bellies. But I think for now we've only got a few more minutes of light left, so we might leave these lions for now and go and see if we can find anything else for you in the meantime. If nothing though, we'll come straight back to these lions.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Well, we're still sitting with beautiful, beautiful Agatha, and she has become... It's amazing, we're watching her literally relax in front of our eyes. 2, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, we would never have been able to sit 15 meters from this lion and have her grooming out in the open like this. Yes, there's a few grasses in the way, but in the grand scheme of things, she's basically sitting out in the open. And we've been putting our jackets on and moving around and talking quietly to each other. And she's paid us almost no attention whatsoever. It's amazing to watch how she's just becoming relaxed in our company. And that's what we want. We want this lioness to learn that the vehicles are not a threat to her, not causing her any harm, and that will allow us to get to this distance and watch her doing her normal behavior. Like right now, she's having a cleaning session. Right? If she's going to go and hunt, every now and again she looks towards the dam. We heard reports that there might have been elephants coming towards the dam. She's definitely looking down there, and we know that lots of times antelope come and drink the last light before it gets dark, before they go and hide in the clearings on the tops of the hillsides in the winter. It's wonderful to watch her. She's just a spectacular lioness. You can see she's got a few battle scars here and there, so she's had to fight her way around a little bit, but otherwise in great, great condition. I really wonder what the future has in store for her. Is she going to hunt successfully tonight? I suspect if the wind continues as it is, that in the morning we're going to find somewhere a drag mark or a carcass, because she has been very, very eager hunting this whole afternoon, moving up and down around. Oh, look at that. Those beautiful markings on her face that accentuate her eyes, helps her to communicate with other members of her pride when she's with the other members of her pride. Dark marks in her ears, oh, and those gorgeous amber eyes. Butterfly, she is a warrior. Oh, and our warrior is getting up. Butterfly, what is she going to do? Is she going to go towards where the impala went? Is she going to go down and drink at the waterhole? Is she just going to groom herself, lie down the other way? Look at her strong shoulders and powerful forearms. She'll use those to great effect when she drags down her prey. Still listening to us. You still see the one ear is focused back on us, but every now and again she listens around, scans around. And now she's up. Where is she going to go? Look at those powers, the big stretch, limbering up the muscles on this cold day before she goes on the hunt. Bit of a scratch. A bit more grooming. Oh no, just finding a better comfortable position. Why not? Look at her pupils getting bigger as the sun starts to fade. Her pupils get wider to let in more light so that she can see better at night. Even tonight with the clouds, it's going to be pitch black and she'll be able to hunt and move around. In fact, cloud cover like this will make hunting even easier for her because she's designed to move around in the dark, to see the slightest movement and to walk silently. You see her whiskers. She's got all the tools. Can't wait to see what she does. In the meantime, though, while she waits, let's send you over to Raymond with the woodpecker.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are at Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is Raymond, together with the cameraman called Theo. So we are in front. We also have got a bird, which is called a woodpecker, right over there. Okay. There is a woodpecker right over here in front of us. Just fly off immediately. Yeah. So as it's fly off, we need to go forward a little bit to move whatever. Oh, here it is. Yeah. The other one is fly off. We still have got the woodpecker. It's another bird which is so lovely and look good, look pretty, and their habit is so fantastic. Called the woodpecker because it's sort of like as you're picking the wood. Every time and again. But the woodpecker, it's taking the bark, the small bark out in order to get some insects that they can eat. Even when they nest, they make a hole on a tree. They go for dry log, which they can manage to soften inside to make a hole where they're going to manage to lay their eggs and hatch, and then off we go. If it's got some chicks. We have got lots of woodpeckers. Some of them are bigger, a little bit more than this one. Yes, we'll move forward, try to see if we get something.
Welcome back, everybody. We have found 3 of the nkuhumas that I spent the whole morning trying to find. They were out and about hunting all over Djuma. The tracks indicated that they tried to catch a buffalo, but they're going to go drink on that side. Big Sidman just move across. But the tracks indicated they tried to catch a buffalo, but it was a big buffalo bull and 3 lionesses on their own. It's tough. It's a tough one. There's a tough one. Oh, they're going to drink. No, they're going to go into the... Bless you, madam. They're going to go into the Mawati drainage. They're heading directly east. We might be very, very lucky. They were all over the place this morning. Their tracks indicated they did not manage to catch any food. And they're up and mobile a little bit earlier than normal. It's one of the youngsters. You see, she doesn't have any distended mammary glands. Okay, I'm going to move quickly because we've got to get around to catch up with them. So everybody, we were about to do a nice, lovely birding segment on a green-backed heron, which was wonderful. It was really, really wonderful. And then we're down at the bottom of this little pad, and the beaker's like, lions and lions. And I'm like, where? And then they came walking onto the damn wall. So I was certain that they didn't escape the property, but I just couldn't find them. I do feel quite bad when that happens. So bear with us. We're just going to go down into the drainage here. And where are they going to take us? That is anyone's guess. Okay, well, while we try to relocate on these cats, let's send you over to Dylan.
So we've got, this is quite fascinating what we've got over here. What actually more to the point, what we don't have here. There's a warthole here. Great time of day for the birds. You remember where we sat yesterday? constant bird movement in and out. But here, there's nothing. And this is where it gets really interesting, because when you see that and there's no birds actually landing and drinking, and we've spoken about this before, it's almost certainly indicative of the presence of a predator. I have no idea what that is. It could be a gabar goshawk, it could be a ladder falcon, it could be a pale chanting goshawk, it could be an African wildcat, caracal, anything. But there's something somewhere around here close to the water. And to give you an idea, look at all the birds actually sitting in these trees. Now, this is just one example of a tree with birds sitting at it, and we're only doing that because it's the closest to us. But in a 360-degree arc all around this waterhole, there's birds scattered in all the trees over here. So they're all just watching. There's definitely something around here. We have scanned the rocks. I was hoping for an African wildcat at this waterhole. This waterhole that you saw just now is very, very typical of them to lie in amongst the rocks and wait for birds and that to come down. But I haven't noticed anything obvious. But there could be, there's definitely something here. Who knows? But anyway, we've scanned and we haven't seen it. So, but it's just very, very distinctive. Like all the trees have just got birds sitting in them and nothing coming down to the water. That is pretty cool. See them there? There's doves, canaries. Penelope says these birds have their eyes out for danger. Exactly. That's what keeps them alive and well.
Welcome back, everyone. You've got very playful lionesses here. Very playful. They're wanting to attack each other the whole time. What's in the cave? What's in the cave? Let's dig. As far as I've seen, all three of these lionesses are young. So they've probably just had enough of hanging out with the toddlers, stealing all the food. And they've gone out on their own for the night. And they are playful. She's going to come up. Her sister's going to catch her. Oh! Incredible. Oh, that's special. Watch it. Come down here and let me tackle you. Everyone's loving it. We're loving it, everybody. Lions in a riverbed can be so much fun, especially when they get playful like this. The wind is up, their senses are tuned in, and they are definitely hungry. The brown hooded kingfisher says yes, hungry. Now, eating grass like that, everybody, is something many cats and dogs do. It helps them to regurgitate any fur balls and shards of bone that might be sitting on the top of their stomach. So just always be prepared if you see a cat eating a lot of grass. It might come up. Grumpy old man, this is the best, I mean, we moved into the area. We were going to go back towards where I last had the tracks and to see if maybe we could find the lions. And when it's cooler like this and the wind is up, this is definitely, as you say, the complete opposite to flat cats. Some more digging. There we go. Look how I can dig. We all love digging on the beach, don't we, everybody? All sorts of little things could be hidden inside there. It's a learned behavior or an instinctive behavior. Let's see if she climbs up. Watch this. Oh my word, watch this. Okay, I'm going to go the easiest way around. I'm going to jump on her sister from the top. But that jump she did before was quite incredible. Off of the wall. Oh no, the bird's gone, Emma, don't worry. The bird would be very difficult for a lion to catch a woodpecker, kingfisher. Where are you going, girl? Sorry about the game drive radio.
Someone saw 2 female lionesses and one on.
Well, we're going to stay here with our vegetarian lions and send you over to lions that actually eat meat.
The dam's heading south.
So our lioness is looking towards the dam. She's not a vegetarian. She's looking quite hungry right now, but I'm not sure that she's going to be able to take on what it is that's come down to the waterhole. It might be a little bit out of her comfort zone, but we've got a whole group of elephants that's just arrived at the waterhole. They're busy drinking down at Ndlovu Dam, aptly named Ndlovu Dam, because those are elephants, and Ndlovu means elephant in Shangaan. It's awesome. Some of those are very big bulls as well. So the other night she was apparently having a bit of a play with some elephants. She was chasing up and down between them and running around and getting them all riled up. We could hear all of it from the camp. We didn't know what was going on. In the morning, one of the other instructors said that he'd seen her strolling amongst the elephants. So she's quite used to this. She's used to these animals coming down to the waterhole and her having to live here. I mean, she's basically been living in this area now for about a week. Before that, she was down at Leopard Dam, so she spends basically all of her time near the waterholes because of this very reason, that animals come down to drink, and if things are just right for her, she can ambush them, which is what she wants. Stuck in Bed is asking whether an elephant would be able to see this lioness. Well, Stuck in Bed, from the distance that we are now, certainly not. Elephant's vision is not great, and especially in this half light, it's going to be terrible. But if the lioness walked on the other side of the dam, where you see there on one side, and she walked on the other side, they would definitely be able to see her. And remember, they've got incredible sense of smell. So even if they didn't see her, they would almost certainly smell her. I think if a strong wind picked up now from where we are, even though we're about 300 meters away from, well, maybe that's a bit much, 200 meters away from these elephants, I think they'd be able to smell a pride. Maybe not the single lioness, but a whole pride of lions moving here. They would be able to smell it. So, no. Stuck in Bed, they don't have great eyesight, and if they are at this distance, they will not see her. But if she goes close and out in the open, yeah, they'd probably see her. They wouldn't be too worried, but they'd chase her off. They don't want predators near them. They don't have to worry. These have got no youngsters. These are all males, from the looks of things. It's amazing this perspective that we're at right now makes them look so much smaller than they really are. But these are all of them actually quite large elephants. Definitely all of them are almost in their full adulthood. There's only one off to the left which looks a bit smaller. But it's incredible, from this angle they look tiny. They look like little toy elephants. But they're massive. Our lioness has got her head down. I just had a little peek over. She is completely relaxed. I mean, I'm talking now at my normal voice level, and it's amazing. She couldn't care less about us, which is absolutely spectacular. Some days out in the bush, just everything works. I mean, we had such a wonderful day with the elephants earlier, and then we had the giraffes and all this cool stuff. Every day in the bush, it's just a magical experience. I'm so glad I get to share it with you. I don't get to do it so much anymore with all these lockdown things and the COVID, but I get to share it with you, which is fantastic. It makes my day so much brighter when I get to share these beautiful sights, Gert and I, with all of you. And also, we love your questions. Please don't forget to send questions in. If there are any kids still watching, your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Love those. And everyone else, hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. We'd love to hear all of your questions. Please send them through. Keeps us on our toes, which is always very, very good. Speaking of a great sighting, apparently the lion cubs in Ngala are fantastic.
We followed the pride down to have something to drink, and in a one-by-one walk
exactly straight back towards where we had them this afternoon, in the beginning of the afternoon. And they're almost in exactly the same spot. They huddled a little bit closer together, it seems, so it might just be because it's getting really...
Bat-eared foxes! We've got a little family of bat-eared foxes, and they're actually out and about foraging as we're speaking. So I'm just going to talk in a whisper here because you can see, obviously they're alert to the vehicle, but those ears are super, super, super sensitive, and there they go. There's one trotting out to the left as well. Let's just stop there. There you go. Look at the size of those ears, eh? So I wasn't mocking your ears. He's running away now. What amazing little animals, eh? And again, primarily insect eaters, a lot of harvester termites, but they'll go for a whole range of other insects, and they've also been recorded going for like nestling birds, those kind of things. But essentially, for all intents and purposes, they're insectivorous. So, but what a day. You're in for a real treat. You're in for a real treat. It's not an animal, but it's amazing. I promise you, it's really very, very, very special. I can't tell you what it is though. But you're going to have to just be patient. I love it. Ha! So we are so far out from the mountains now. We're probably about 15 kilometers out from the mountains. Maybe even a little bit more. Gemma says they look quite grumpy, these aardvark and bat-eared foxes. Yeah, they are gorgeous little animals. They are gorgeous, but it's like you get these rain frogs as well. Yeah, you get these little what you call blaadsoppies, these revicep rain frogs, bushveld rain frogs, and they also these squat little things, short little legs, and they also got this like really grumpy, or it looks like a grumpy expression on their face, but they're adorable little animals. Oh my word, is this just not gorgeous, guys? Hey? This is not what I'm showing you, but I'm just we getting closer. But yeah, this is so beautiful. I'm just still scanning all these dune crests. You never know when you come across some little critter down there. Man, oh man, it's pretty. There's a leopard with cubs again. But we're not looking for that leopard with cubs, we're just looking for the African wildcat. Ooh, a caracal would also go down like a homesick mole now. I could do the caracal sighting.
So we're back from our little circle, little loop around the nearby area. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find anything that we could film. So we came back to our lines to find the 2 adult lionesses and one of the young sub-adult lionesses still busy feeding. And I don't think that warthog is going to last much longer now. Let's listen to the crunching. Odd little growl coming from the different lions. Might also be able to hear in the background some screaming baboons in the cliffs behind us. As they start to prepare for their night. They've found a big steep cliff where it's going to be tough for any predators to get up to them and where they should be relatively safe, and that's where they'll spend the night. Oh, apparently the lions at Ngala are about to walk right past the vehicle, so let's send you over there quick.
So these lions, without any warning, decided to get up and move, and they're crossing the road, and this might be the last view we have of the whole pride. And so about half of them have crossed, the rest of them are just behind. And they are heading straight down towards the big waterhole. The only ones we haven't seen are the males and the two smallest cubs, and they started walking with the pride, but they might have just got the signal from the mother to slow down and stay behind. What I can do, Owen, is just move forward and maybe just watch them disappearing. The two males are on their way. Something so majestic about two males that are just walking straight down towards us. I find it incredible that everyone, or the whole pride, got the cue at exactly the same time. And they all got up and they all walked at the same time. And so where they're going, there's a waterhole not too far away from us, but they don't seem to be walking directly there. I think they're moving more parallel towards it and moving towards one of our boundaries in the east. So let me try and move a little bit more forward again. So the two males are there. This really is captivating. To watch a whole pride of lions moving through an area like this is just incredible. I wish they were heading into an area where we would be able to follow them a bit easier. But they basically, if they keep on walking, we'll get to a junction of two very, very deep. So we'll try and maneuver to that drainage line and wait to see if we can get them crossing. But it sounds like we're not the only ones with moving cats, so let's go over and see what Steve's lions are up to.
We are loving it. Our playful cats are now moving directly east on the Firebreak Road, away from the Milwati drainage. Still on the property, but they turn right now, they're going to go onto Little Gowrie. Possibly even Chitwa if they keep moving. This is essentially how breakaways can happen, everybody. You get the Nkuma pride with the females with all their cubs. It just becomes harder and harder for all of them to eat, especially with the cubs getting so feisty. Lots of little boys. So these lionesses will go off on their own to hunt, have a little bit of peace and quiet. To move up and see if we can keep with them. And Rexon from Juma's on his way. So I just need to keep him posted about their movements. Rex, they're headed straight to Gowrie Main now from that drainage line. Moinoi, a day filled with lions is always a fantastic day. I can't agree with you more. Now don't cross there, girls. They're going straight across. You can see them in the road. That's Gowrie Main. Yes, keep going along Gowrie Main. Now we need to quickly zoom back because you can't drive through here. Now while we try and get you into another position, send you over to Mike, who's with his own cats all afternoon.
Well, we're still sitting with our number one gal, and she's still watching the water hole, which is pretty awesome. She seems to be trying to sick up a fur ball or something. Ooh, get it out, lady, get it out. Sorry, we're putting this on the show for everyone to see. Sorry if it's making you embarrassed. We don't mean to cramp your style. But if you gotta get it out, right? Oh. Oh. And I used to have a house cat, and they used to do, when they would do this, you'd pick them up, run them quickly to the bathroom. Well, she seems to have gotten it out, whatever it was. Oh, that was heavy. I don't know if you heard that. She did a big cough. Seems to have gotten it out. Oh, now I think she's eating it. Gosh, really, are you that desperate? That's nasty. But it's really, it's normal. It's quite natural. We're not shaming you at all. This is quite natural behavior. It's all fine. So what's interesting about this is that she's still sitting in the same place, and I actually thought by now she would have gotten up and moved, because it's certainly dark enough for her to start moving around. We've actually changed to infrared, as you can see. We don't have an infrared light, unfortunately, but it makes the picture a little bit more contrasted for you. You know, by now we can't hardly see her with our eyes, so the impalas also probably would struggle to see her if she was moving around in this grass. I'm interested to know how long she's really going to wait here before she moves, or is she just going to stay here until an animal comes by? You know, that could be another option for her. It's very interesting. Well, in the meantime, we're going to send you over to Inkala, who've got some lions walking by.
We managed to loop around and catch them crossing the river, and this might be the last view that we have of them. And they're walking straight past us, along the banks along the Tswalu River. And they're heading straight into the wind. They're definitely looking for something to hunt tonight. And see a few of the cubs and the males aren't really that excited to get going, so they decided to take a quick little breather, and then the two big males who are at the back of the pride are on their way down, so they're just entering the river now. But now their behavior has completely changed from being all cute and cuddly and loving, and now look how intently each of them are watching one another. Especially, so that one there is focusing on the two lead females that are in the front now, and she looks like she's just watching and just seeing seeing how they behave and how they act. And this lioness has got a limp at the moment, and so she isn't able to help with the hunting until that front leg recovers a bit better. But the cubs also, because they're inexperienced, they'll take the back seat now. And this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier on in the day. I think it was this morning. We were talking about how these lions learn how to hunt. And we were saying some of it's instinctual, but some of it is learning and watching the adults and the experienced females hunt. And so all of these ones that are hanging around at the back are just watching and seeing how the females go about their business when they're trying to find a meal. And the young male of the Birmingham Pride, his limp, we haven't really quite seen him nicely. We haven't shown you at least, but his limp is improving a lot compared to when we first saw it. It's almost like it's not really affecting him anymore at all. Monique, I'm glad I managed to make your day. I must say it's been one of those sightings where we'll remember this for a very long time, being with them for about 2 hours. And that's the special thing about this, and one of the special things about Ngala is being able to spend time with these massive prides of lions as they're walking through our reserve. So there's actually a couple that are starting to make their way up the bank. There we go, this young male's up now. I'll maybe try and reposition the vehicle just so we can see them walking across us. I'm literally just going to do a 180-degree turn. Although this one female with the limp is coming, so I don't really want to start and startle her. So we'll just sit quietly as she passes on. Paintergill, it is quite airy following these lines, especially when you know that they're looking for something to hunt. It's been a wild afternoon in terms of lions, but as our lions disappear up the riverbanks, you can see what the lions at Pinder are doing.
It certainly has been a wild afternoon of lions. Lions all over the place. And always super special to get to spend time with these magnificent big cats. Now our group of lions over here seem to have rid this warthog's bones of its meat. Looks like they're getting towards the end of finishing off the carcass. But before we go too much into that, I would just like to get back to Sir 50. Yesterday evening you asked me a question about the success of rhino matings. And Sir 50, unfortunately, in all the research that I've done since yesterday evening's drive, I haven't been able to find any numbers on how many matings result in successful conceptions. But Sir 50, I would have to surmise that the fact that the way rhinos have adapted to mating, or how their mating kind of system has evolved, where it's kind of 1 or 2 or 3 copulations, so a relatively short or few number of copulations, especially when compared to something like a lion or a leopard or even a cheetah, I suppose, would suggest that they do have a pretty high success rate. But unfortunately wasn't able to find any hard evidence or any scientific studies on that. I hope that is of some help though, so 50. But yeah, so with these lions now getting towards the end of this carcass, I'm pretty sure that once all the meat is gone, they'll lick the bones off, cleaning off the last little scraps of meat. And from here, myself and Marcel are going to move out and leave these lions to continue with the last little bit of their meal. So let's go see what the other lions are up to.
So our lion has now decided just to put her head down and rest. She has not moved at all, just taking it easy. You know, when the hunting is good, hunt. When you're having a tough day, sleep it off. So she hasn't been successful today at hunting, so she's just resting here. She's probably not going to move too much tonight. She'll move around this area, hopefully hunt in this darkness and this wind, and be successful. It's been wonderful to watch her throughout the day, from early this morning, finding her sunning herself in a termite mound, then watching her chase some impalas, and then, you know, all the day stalking around these impalas, and now just settling down. Amazing. Spectacular to watch. I hope you've all enjoyed it as well, and we'll keep watching this lioness over the coming months, see how she develops. Can't wait to watch her mature. It's good that she's becoming so relaxed with us. Tonight we have to sit around the... I'm so glad you've all enjoyed it too. You've all enjoyed spending time with her, and we've enjoyed it so much, and it's spectacular. So definitely keep watching, keep tuning in. Oh, what she heard. Keep watching, keep tuning in, keep seeing what she's up to. Give her some support. It's amazing to watch these animals as they struggle through, you know, the daily grind. James, I agree. It is so good to see how much more she's gotten relaxed. I remember the first time I managed to get a view of her with Wild Earth. She was hiding behind some bushes. She stalked past the back of the car, head low, just basically scurrying into the thickets. We got a very brief view of her. So this is great, sitting next to her 10 meters away. I know she's listens to us every now and again, but she hasn't moved. If she was really unhappy with us, she would have stalked off. So James, it is great, and thanks for watching. Thanks for pointing that out. It's awesome. Alright, so we're going to enjoy the last few moments of light with her, and we'll send you over to Dylan, who's got a wonderful sunset.
So, I'm probably not going to talk too much now, and I should just keep quiet, because what you're going to see now doesn't need words. Just have a look at this landscape. Stunning, eh? Absolutely incredible. This is what it's about, eh? You cannot ever put a value on this unless it's I don't know, whatever you want to call it, a spiritual value, something like that, but it's...
You can see our car there.
So GI says?
Looks like Mars.
Looks like Mars. I promise you, if Mars looks like this, Mars would be lucky. No, this is gorgeous, eh? Such a spectacularly beautiful area, and this just gives you such a good idea of the lay of the land. You got those mountains in the distance that we are on now, and then you got these huge, vast, flat expanses. And it is, when I say vast, this is vast. This is true, deep Kalahari. And I'm hoping the sun, actually, we just catch the sun in time, but I suspect not. But just have a look at that, enjoy it, and appreciate it as much as I hope you will. And it's just amazing having you all out there sharing in this with us. Horse Lover says this is just beautiful. Absolutely. Totally right. If you have been teaching people, whatever you've been doing, I hope you've really enjoyed your time with us, and I hope it's been a good break for you, and I hope you've learned something, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, because I promise you this for me is just the best thing that I could be doing, and I really hope it helps you. Please stay safe, have a great evening, enjoy your time with whatever people you're with or whatever you do, and we will see you tomorrow morning.